They say climate change is coming for your garden. Relax. It's still mostly coming for your impatience, your overwatering habit, and bad plant choices. Let's talk about how to actually prepare without panic. Because while the headlines are melting down, your zucchini still just wants sunshine, water, and maybe a little respect. Every few months, there's another wave of apocalyptic predictions. Climate change will destroy your garden. Nothing will grow again. Move north or die. Meanwhile, humans have survived ice ages, droughts, and the 1980s. We'll be fine. The truth is, the weather's always changing, and gardeners have always adapted. The trick isn't to freak out, it's to get practical. In this video, we'll cover 10 solid, low-drama ways to make your garden thrive, no matter what the climate does next. Soil is your insurance policy. If there's one thing that can make or break your garden's future, it's the stuff under your feet. When people talk about climate-proofing their gardens, they rush to buy fancy gadgets or irrigation systems, but real resilience starts in the soil. Healthy soil is a living sponge. It absorbs water during downpours, holds on to it through dry spells, and moderates temperature swings that can cook roots one week and freeze them the next. Good soil isn't just dirt, it's a busy ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and worms, all trading nutrients like a microscopic stock market. And that living network doesn't panic when the weather goes rogue. It adapts. That's why adding organic matter, compost, shredded leaves, or well-rotted manure is the single most important climate strategy a gardener can use. It builds structure, boosts drainage, and stores carbon where it belongs, underground. Forget the hype about climate-ready soil additives or liquid miracle cures. The fix is simpler, cheaper, and older than civilization. Feed your soil, and it will feed your plants through droughts, floods, and everything in between. The gardeners who'll still be harvesting in 50 years aren't the ones with smart sprinklers. They're the ones who turn their yard's dirt into living earth. 2. Pick survivors, not divas. When the weather gets weird, it exposes every fragile plant in your garden. Climate change doesn't just bring heat, it brings whiplash. Floods, freezes, droughts, and sometimes all three in one season. So stop filling your beds with drama queens. You want survivors, not divas. Native and regionally adapted plants are the real backbone of a resilient garden. They've already proven they can handle your soil, your pests, and your climate swings without fainting. Coneflowers, salvias, okra, black-eyed peas. These plants don't care if the forecast says record highs. They just keep growing. The same goes for tough perennials and drought-tolerant herbs like rosemary or thyme. They're self-sufficient, durable, and look good doing it. That doesn't mean your garden has to look like a cactus ranch. You can mix survivors with your favorites. Just make sure at least half your lineup could survive a long weekend without you. If you have a spot that always fries delicate plants, stop trying to force it and give it to the warriors instead. Resilient plants don't just save water, they save your sanity. When the next unexpected frost hits, you'll still be harvesting instead of mourning another expensive experiment gone wrong. In a changing climate, the best gardeners aren't chasing trends or exotic imports. They're doubling down on plants that can take a hit and come back swinging. 3. Microclimates are your secret weapon. You can't control the climate, but you can control where your plants experience it. Every yard, no matter how small, has microclimates. little pockets of weather that behave differently from the rest. Learn to spot them, and you'll start cheating the system. That warm strip along the south-facing wall, it traps heat and keeps frost away weeks longer than open ground. Perfect for peppers, citrus, or tomatoes that like a head start. The shady side of your fence might stay 10 degrees cooler on summer afternoons, letting lettuce or spinach survive past spring. Even the low spots where water gathers after a storm have a use. Tuck in moisture-loving plants like mint or elephant ears and let nature irrigate them for free. You can also create microclimates. A few shrubs can block wind. A simple trellis or fence can turn scorching sun into dappled shade. Rocks and bricks store warmth during the day and release it at night, keeping roots cozy when temperatures swing. This is how gardeners have been outsmarting the weather for centuries, not by panicking, but by paying attention. The more you understand your yard's quirks, the less you'll care what the meteorologist says. Climate change might rewrite the big picture, but microclimates let you draw your own map. It's not about fighting the weather. It's about knowing exactly where to plant your rebellion. 4. Water smart, not hard. If climate change has a favorite trick, it's timing. Dumping inches of rain when you don't need it and ghosting you when you do. Most gardeners respond by panic watering, but that's how you train weak plants with shallow roots that can't handle stress. The smarter move? Water deeply and infrequently. A slow soak once or twice a week encourages roots to dive down where the soil stays moist longer. That means less watering overall, and plants that can take a dry spell like champs. Drip lines or soaker hoses make it easy, and they waste far less than overhead sprinklers that mostly hydrate the air. Collecting rainwater is another old-school trick that suddenly feels high-tech. One barrel catches enough for several waterings, and a few lined up together can keep your garden going for weeks. It's also the only kind of climate adaptation system that doesn't need Wi-Fi or an app subscription. When heat waves hit, resist the urge to water every day just because the surface looks dry. Stick a finger in the dirt. If it's cool and damp an inch down, you're fine. Overdoing it invites fungus and rot faster than drought ever could. Climate change might mess with rainfall, but good watering habits turn that chaos into routine. Deep roots, not deep pockets, are what keep your garden alive when the sky forgets its job. 5. Wind is the hidden enemy. Heat and drought get all the headlines, but wind is the silent garden wrecker. It doesn't just knock things over. It dries the soil, shreds leaves, and even strips blossoms right off fruiting plants. As climate change stirs up more erratic storms, wind protection stops being optional. The first defense is smart placement. Don't plant tall crops like corn, tomatoes, or sunflowers in open, gusty spots. Tuck them behind fences, sheds, or shrubs where they'll get some cover. A hedge, even a scruffy one, can slow wind speeds by half and protect everything downwind. If you've got an exposed yard, try low fences or trellises with open slats. They break the gusts without turning into sails. Next comes staking. Tomatoes, young trees, anything top-heavy. Get them supported early, before the first big blow hits. A loose tie and a flexible stake let the plant move naturally while keeping its roots stable. Heavy winds plus loose soil equals one uprooted disaster. Wind also steals moisture faster than heat alone. A layer of compost or light mulch, the breathable kind, not a suffocating mat. Helps keep the surface from baking dry. It's easy to underestimate wind until you spend a weekend replanting your entire garden. Protect it once, and you won't have to. When the next storm rolls through, you'll be inside watching your plants bend, not break, and thinking, yep, nailed it. 6. Don't panic plant after extremes. Every time a freak frost or record heat wave hits, gardeners everywhere go into panic mode. Out come the shovels, in go the new plants, and a week later, the weather swings the other way. Rinse, repeat, waste money. In a changing climate, weather whiplash is the new normal. So the smartest thing you can do after a disaster is nothing. At least, not right away. When something looks dead, give it time. Many plants have built-in survival tactics that would impress a doomsday prepper. They drop leaves, shut down, and wait for better conditions. That dead rosemary or fig might push out new growth once the soil warms again. If you rip it out too soon, you'll never know. The same logic goes for replacing everything after one weird season. Don't assume your whole lineup is not climate compatible just because one year was rough. Observe which plants bounced back, which ones limped along, and which ones truly gave up. The survivors are your teachers and your seed stock for next year. Adaptation takes observation, not panic. If humans had replanted the entire planet every time the weather acted up, we'd still be hiding in caves. Climate change isn't a cue to bulldoze your beds. It's an invitation to learn from the plants, tough enough to outlast the tantrums. So next time nature throws a fit, sit tight, grab a notebook, and let your garden show you who deserves a second chance. 7. Time your planting differently. The calendar used to mean something in gardening. Plant peas in March, tomatoes in May, and clean up in October. Not anymore. Climate change has scrambled the seasons like a dropped omelet. Winters are shorter, springs arrive early until they suddenly don't, and fall can drag on forever. The good news? Plants don't own calendars. They respond to soil and light, not the date on your phone. Instead of chasing tradition, start watching your soil temperature and daylight. Seeds germinate based on warmth, not wishful thinking. A cheap soil thermometer tells you more than any almanac ever will. When the soil's warm enough for bare feet, it's ready for warm season crops. When nights cool and daylight shortens, it's time for fall planting, whether the calendar says September or December. Local signs help too. When lilacs bloom, it's safe to plant beans. When dandelions pop, crabgrass is waking up. Time to cover bare soil with compost or a quick germinating ground cover if you don't want weeds. Your region already whispers the schedule. You just have to listen. Jot down the real timing that works in your microclimate. And after a few seasons, you'll have your own personal planting calendar. One that actually matches your yard. In a changing climate, flexibility beats prediction. You can't stop the seasons from shifting, but you can shift with them. Forget the rules. Nature's rewriting them anyway. 8. Diversify like a good investor. When it comes to gardening in a changing climate, putting all your eggs or tomatoes in one basket is asking for heartbreak. A single hot spell, flood, or pest surge can wipe out your favorite crop overnight. The solution? Think like an investor. A diverse portfolio doesn't just make sense for stocks. It keeps your garden alive when the weather decides to experiment. Mix shallow and deep-rooted plants so moisture is used at different soil levels. Combine annuals that give fast harvests with perennials that ride out tough years. Pair veggies with herbs and flowers to attract pollinators and confuse pests. You can even mix species in the same bed. Lettuce under corn, garlic among roses, beans, climbing sunflowers. Nature's been running mixed gardens for millions of years, and she's doing fine without spreadsheets. Diversity also builds insurance against shifting seasons. If an early frost ends your peppers, your kale will still be standing. If the rain skips a month, your sweet potatoes will keep the pantry stocked. A garden that looks like chaos is often the one that keeps feeding you when the tidy ones fail. Monocultures are fragile. Ask any farmer who's lost a field to one pest. A mixed garden bends, adapts, and keeps producing. When the climate throws a curveball, you don't need everything to survive, just something. And with enough diversity, something always will. 9. Compost is climate control. Everyone's talking about climate solutions that cost a fortune, need an app, or involve drilling carbon into the center of the earth. Meanwhile, gardeners have been doing carbon capture for free since forever. It's called compost. Compost is the original climate control system for your garden. When you mix kitchen scraps, leaves, and trimmings into that glorious black gold, you're building a soil buffer that keeps temperature and moisture steady even when the weather goes berserk. In summer, compost helps soil hold onto water longer, saving plants from drought stress. In winter, it traps warmth and protects roots from freeze-thaw damage. It's like installing geothermal heating, only cheaper and actually useful. The magic goes deeper, literally. Compost feeds earthworms and soil microbes that tunnel, aerate, and fertilize naturally, creating a resilient underground network that shrugs at temperature swings. It even locks carbon back into the ground instead of letting it float around up top, adding to the drama. You don't need fancy bins or overpriced activators. A simple pile of greens and browns, like kitchen scraps balanced with dry leaves, will do the job. It should smell earthy, not rotten. If it stinks, you've got too much nitrogen, add more dry matter. If it steams, congratulations. That's the sign of healthy decomposition. In a world obsessed with high-tech climate gadgets, compost remains the simplest, truest fix. No panic required. Just let nature recycle her own leftovers, and she'll reward you with better soil and sturdier plants. 10. Chill out. Literally and figuratively. Climate change headlines love to scream about the end of everything, including gardening. But before you start panic ordering bunker seeds and solar lamps, remember this. Humans have survived worse: ice ages, volcanic winters, centuries of farming with sticks and guesswork. And somehow, here we are, still planting tomatoes and arguing about compost ratios. The truth is, adaptation is our superpower. The climate has never stayed still, and neither have we. Gardens evolve just like we do. A bad summer might take your cucumbers, but your okra will laugh about it. A sudden freeze might zap your basil, but your kale will barely notice. Nature's backup plan is diversity, and yours is perspective. So, when the next record-breaking storm hits, resist the urge to panic. Walk your garden, take notes, see what survived, and maybe even enjoy the reminder that you're part of something ancient and ongoing. Gardening has always been about hope, planting now for a future you can't fully predict. The climate may keep changing, but gardeners will keep adapting, experimenting, and occasionally muttering at the sky. That's what we do best. So there you have it. 10 ways to prepare your garden for climate change without panic or gimmicks. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's sure the sky is falling. Then go outside, touch some soil, and remember, the climate might change, but gardeners don't quit.